Priorities. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. I think that we're going to go ahead and call this meeting on Tuesday, March the 19th to order. So if everybody would please stand for the pledge and then remain standing for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's have a moment of silence. Moment of silence for the first responders, police, fire, and ambulance. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Please have a seat. All right. This is a hybrid meeting tonight. We do have people in the Zoom room. Please remain muted during the meeting while the board is talking. And we will call upon the Zoom room participants second for any public questions or comments. The folks in the room will take priority. Thank you for coming tonight. The board met in executive session this evening before the board meeting to discuss personnel matters. And we will open the floor for a quick public comment period if anybody has a quick public comment. And seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to emergency services report. With WEGO, we have Sergeant Jim Reniger. Come on up, please. Thanks for coming out tonight. And just please speak into the microphone. Hopefully it's on.
You got it. Wow.
Thank you.
I'm gonna throw some facts and figures at you. Monthly totals for February of 2024, there were 2,122 calls for service that we responded to. In 2023, there were 1,588. East Goshen accounted for 1,188 of those calls. And in 2023, they accounted for 870. So there's a offset of numbers. Overall, the townships collectively had an increase in calls in February for service over the previous years. There was a 133% increase in calls in our records management system when comparing February of 2024 to February of 2020 pre-pandemic, and 119% increase when comparing year-to-date from 2023 to 2019. As the chief presented in the February Police Commission meeting, when all of the proactive activity, which is your traffic stops, your neighborhood checks, things like that are removed from the statistics, the calls for service, the actual calls we go and respond to when we're called on by the public, the data indicates that there was an 8.3% increase in calls for service when comparing 2023 to 2018, and higher in 2019, 2020, and 2021. Chief wanted me to mention 3 trends: frauds, scams, and counterfeits. During February of 2024, there were 18 frauds in East Goshen, which included 2 counterfeit investigations involving check washing. The frauds involved a wide range of incidents, ranging from jury duty scams, dating scams, identity theft, computer repair scams, drug investigation, and enforcement scams. Fraudulent pet sales, haven't heard of that one yet. Lottery scams and grandparent scams. The second one is disturbances, disputes, and harassment incidents. During February 2024, there were 24 calls of this type, which is slightly higher than normal. There is no commonality among any of them. And finally, thefts receiving stolen property. In February, there were 4 theft investigations and 1 theft from a motor vehicle investigation in East Goshen. Just as a reminder, the weather gets warm, thefts from motor vehicles are common. Make sure you lock your doors, hide your valuables, don't even bring them. But that's all she really has.
Does anybody have any questions for Sergeant Reniger? I just have a comment I'd like to make real quick and commend Ted Lewis for his Sergeant Ted Lewis was first on scene to help my mom
Okay.
yesterday morning, and he was observed jumping out of his car and flying. The guy said, I don't think I saw his feet hit the ground. He said, I think he had wings. He just flew into the house and he was first on scene. He happened to be patrolling Westchester Pike
Yeah.
and was right there. So he was there in just a couple of moments.
Yeah, with his medical background, that's who I want coming for me.
Absolutely. So he was fantastic.
He's a
So
good egg.
He is to be commended for his speedy response. We appreciate it.
I'll pass along
Thank you.
your,
And she's doing okay.
appreciate you. All right, great.
All right, thank
I-
you. Any
got-
reports?
Yeah,
from-
I got one
Thank you.
question. Sergeant, appreciate your service and I love the haircut.
Thank you.
It's like 10.
We're doing it proud.
Yeah. So, the chief had sent reports before, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, and I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but there's typically three kind of segregated types of calls. There's like a level 1, a level 2, and then like an other.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that and like what percentage of the higher danger calls are the total of the complete total that WeGo has to respond to?
Okay, so I don't want to, I don't want to, how do I put this?
I can come to your rescue here if you want.
What's that?
I can come to your rescue if you want.
Please.
So in the February meeting, a week or two ago, we got a breakdown concluding of 2023. I think it was 2018 to 2023.
Okay, I
The
don't think I
level-
got that.
Yeah, I don't think you were at that meeting. A breakdown of like the level 1 and then the level 2, and then it goes over like we didn't used to include certain ambulance calls, and that's why some of the calls are up. We didn't include some things. So I'll forward that to the entire board
Awesome.
and you and Derek as well. But it gives a breakdown of, you might see 0 calls for 2022, and then you'll see 300 in 2023 for that. It's because we just reported it different in the Cody system. So
Yeah, I'm just trying to drill in on like the really, really dangerous, how big a percentage is that of the total?
yeah, I
calls?
have, I can get that for
Cool,
you.
perfect.
Ultimately, anything I could tell you would be speculation. The chief's the one who's the master of all of that.
Understood.
I do apologize, but.
No, no problem.
Yeah, they're all pretty scary when you're out there.
I'm
But they
sure.
were. Oh, my God.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Have a
Absolutely.
great night. Be safe.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. All right, Derek, do you have anything? Do we have somebody here from Goshen Fire Department? Oh, hello. How are you, Grant? Come on up.
Grant's here.
Good evening.
Hello.
Okay, so the report for February, fire company responded to 473 calls, 44 fire calls, 28 fire police calls, and 401 EMS calls. In East Goshen Township, we had 23 fire calls, 11 fire police calls, and 177 EMS calls. The major incidents for the month, East Goshen, we had the building fire at the restaurant on Boot Road. And we also had a small electrical building fire at Cider Knoll on Walnut Hill Road. Upcoming events, we have our annual Easter flower sale on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of Easter weekend. That'll be at our Boot Road station, Station 56. And then not too far after that, we'll be planning for our Mother's Day flower sale in May. Those are our upcoming fundraisers.
Good deal.
Does anybody have any questions for Grant on the board?
I have a question. What's at 1302 East Wrights Lane in East Goshen? Says elevator rescue. What building is that?
I think it's a CTDI property.
Oh,
okay.
okay.
The only reason I noted it is it was 2 days in a row or.
Right,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
And, you know, people kept getting stuck in their elevator and we highlighted it with Dwayne, but just get it fixed.
And the building fire that you referred to, the restaurant was Oriental Pearl.
Yes.
So
Yeah, it was controlled by the sprinklers quickly.
very good.
Obviously caused them to be down for they're still down, I think. but
Was it an electrical fire? Or was it? Fire?
There's a number of investigators looking at it. I do believe it's electrical in origin, but
Okay,
it's,
I just wondered.
they're arm wrestling over who's to blame, so.
Got to figure out who to.
Who investigates that?
So the county fire marshal comes out and does a cause and origin. But to be honest, they won't do the insurance company's work. The insurance company will bring in experts and
They will.
We also have Dwayne out there as well.
Yes.
So there's multiple agency
Yeah.
effort usually.
yeah, Dwayne came right out and he was there pretty quickly.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I just have one quick question.
Sure.
Grant, thank you. Are you able to, for our next meeting, can you give us an update on your business donation drive, your ambulance subscription drive? Just see where you are compared to last year.
Sure.
Thank you.
I know we were trailing a little bit on the subscription drive, but we sent out the reminder notice a couple weeks ago, so number of envelopes have been coming in, so.
Good. Okay. All right. Anybody else?
No.
All right.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks so
Great.
much for coming. Have a
Thank you
good
very
night.
much. Sure.
Be safe. And Derek, Malvern, Good Fire.
We
Good
have
Fellowship?
nobody here from Malvern Fire or Good Fellowship, but the reports are in the
Okay.
packet as usual, Madam Chair.
Okay. And Dave, before you get excited about doing your financial report, as is my prerogative, I would like to bring, if the county folks are ready, I'd like to bring them up under new business. Under new business, I'd like to bring you up and have you do the presentation so that you can make that happen. Thanks for coming tonight.
Oh, well, thanks for having us. My name is Eric Quinn. I'm the Bridge Program Manager for the Chester County Department of Facilities. Chester County owns and maintains 91 roadway bridges throughout the county in roughly 41 of the 73 municipalities. Sandy Martin is here with me tonight. Sandy is our bridge engineer, the county bridge engineer with McCormick Taylor. And Sandy is going to go ahead and present our very preliminary plans on Chester County Bridge 157 Dutton Mill Road, which has been closed a number of times over the last few years. And we wanted to present to the township this evening to give you an idea of what's going on. So thank you.
So we finally refer to the bridges number 157. So unfortunately, that's what I know it as, but it is the Dutton Mill Road over Ridley Creek in East Goshen Township. It's on the screen there in the elevation view, but it was built in 1922. So it's kind of hard to believe, but it's already over 100 years old. It's a 32-foot single span concrete T-beam with stone masonry abutments. I know that's kind of bridge geek speak, but it's important to us because a bridge of that age, it's pretty old. The deck and substructure and the superstructure are all considered in fair condition. So they're not failing at the moment. But one of the things that makes this bridge really important to us relative to the need for replacement or at least major repairs is the history of the bridge. It has a 12-ton weight restriction. The 12-ton weight restriction, it can't carry fire trucks. It can't even carry fully loaded full-size school buses, oil delivery trucks. Most of your service vehicles are over that 12-ton capacity. This bridge also has a pretty significant history of undermining. And what I mean by that is the channel is in poor condition and the bridge is considered scour critical. It's a category B, but essentially we have to monitor it whenever we have a storm that is more than 2 inches of rain in 24 hours. So if you've been in Chester County in the last few years, that happens quite a bit lately. So for that reason, we have to do a scour plan of action and we're always watching. We've made some significant repairs to the bridge over the years, somewhat recently actually, to try to fix that undermining where the water is cutting under the substructure and makes it unstable. So the bridge from an engineering perspective has lived out its useful life and the county embarked on a replacement advertisement and selected a consultant. CCJ&M is the consultant. They're not here with us tonight. But they're working on a preliminary design. So the bridge that you have today, also in addition to the issues I've already stated, the pipe rail that's on the bridge has also been problematic. And I should give you some history. I am with McCormick Taylor. I'm a consultant, but I worked for the county since 1988. So I've been with this bridge for over 30 years. But the pipe railing has been hit before and had been replaced. And it's not a standard safety feature. It's not considered safe by PennDOT standards today. And then there are no approach safety features. So ideally on a bridge, we would want to have something that could withstand 10 kip impact resistance on the bridge, and then the approaches too. So you didn't have any blunt obstructions that a vehicle could hit as entering towards the bridge. Next slide, please. This is just to give you a little visual. It is, again, the elevation view, but if you can focus in on the picture on the left there, you see what looks like some bricks or blocks or something in the stream. That is actually concrete matting that is placed, that the pipeline placed over their bridge where, I'm sorry, their crossing, which is in the stream bed, and it was exposed. So that I can't remember exactly when that occurred, but it's probably 10 to 15 years ago. They came in and placed that matting because their pipe was getting scoured by the stream bed. So the reason I'm showing you that in this picture is the close proximity of a gas pipeline to the bridge. And then it was also a number of years ago undermined, just like we have the scour problems of the bridge. And then I guess we shared the picture of the approach roadway. It's a residential area. There's a couple homes somewhat immediately adjacent to the bridge. And then there's the intersection, I guess that would be, trying to think of the direction, north of the bridge, yeah. Next slide, please. So as Eric mentioned, CCJ&M has started to do some preliminary work to see what we could do out here from a replacement standpoint. So what you have seen there, they've done a preliminary layout of the geometry. They've taken some survey. They've had their surveyors go out and survey both the roadway and the stream. And the layout you see is pretty much what you have there today, but they do intend to widen it slightly so that they can have 2 lanes of traffic safely cross in accordance with PennDOT standards. I should mention that the project is also funded by PennDOT, so we're kind of obligated to meet the PennDOT standards, but we typically do that anyway because that's what's our normal engineering standard. And then the next slide will show you shows where that pipeline is. And the reason I keep bringing that up is because it really parallels our project real tight. So in order to do anything at this bridge location, we're going to have to ask the pipeline to relocate. And when I say relocate, get out of our way, not really go to another township, but they're going to basically look to shift that a number of feet away so we can dig the excavation and build our bridge in the future.
Excuse me, what pipeline is that?
It is a Sunoco gas pipeline.
Oh, boy.
What kind of gas?
Yeah, I'm not really sure, honestly.
Thank you, Mark.
Oil? Okay. That's
Mark
not-
is our Public Works Director,
not
so
the
he
worst.
knows.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Is
Um,
that something that they're gonna be able to do without having to put new pipe in, or is that something, is there any flex in that?
I don't believe there's flex in it. It's an older line. I know when it was exposed, it's an older line. They'll probably, and this is where we're going to take a number of years. This is not going to happen next year. We'll take a number of years to work with them to create a design, and we'll determine the land we need to build the bridge. They'll determine where they can put this. We're going to have to negotiate with the property owners. And I imagine they're going to install a new line temporarily in the vicinity of the project. But that's really what we wanted to present here today and get any feedback or questions. We're going to be working on it as we move forward over the next few years. At this point, we've just done some environmental investigation and some survey, and then they've done a preliminary layout. The other slides that I have on here are just for talking points if you guys had any questions.
Yeah, it's a good presentation.
Yeah.
Who's going to, Derek, I guess I ask you, who's going to liaison with these folks to keep us up on what's going on?
I mean, I've been working with Eric directly. He's been emailing me, keeping me up to date. I guess, I just had a question. So the timeline, so nothing construction wise is going to be happening this year at all?
Well, that's not exactly true. Nothing from the standpoint of replacing the bridge, but to get data, they're going to have to do core borings.
Okay.
So I think they've already talked to you about a detour. And part of that is because they're going to go out with a rig and do borings to get geological
Okay.
data to be
Well,
able
that's
to
why I was
design the
confused,
bridge.
because I remember talking via email about detours. And then you said it might be a number of years before we get to the actual construction of the bridge. So, okay.
Yeah, that's all study type information, but they will have to close a lane of the roadway or probably the whole roadway to get those borings.
So John, the answer is me.
Me, you,
Yeah.
good. And Mark tells me that, Mark, you said we have a reasonable workaround for people who live there? Okay. Okay.
So they'll go up to Strasburg
Yeah.
and then over to 352. Okay. That would be a problem, yeah. So the detours for the initial borings and geological testing, how long will those detours be up for? Will they be up for just like for the day?
Matter of days, yeah. I think they're proposing 4 borings. They can run into trouble when they do that, but it should be a matter of a couple days.
And then, 2 days, okay. If there's something that comes of the geological testing, what could delay what could delay this project further?
I'm not really anticipating the geological information will delay it, but there's a lot of things that can delay a project. They certainly, the public involvement and, getting involved with the property owners, what they need, what they want, what they're looking for, the view shed, trying to just work through with the different stakeholders, usually takes time. And it depends, we're going to need to acquire right away and easements to do our work. So if we have cooperative property owners, that goes a lot quicker than non-cooperative property owners. So that could take more time. We don't know any of that yet. PennDOT will be providing all the engineering reviews. Sometimes they get backlogged and that can take time. So there's a lot of things. I think the only thing, the geological piece, they're gonna basically drill down until they hit rock or they hit resistance, and then we'll have the data we need to design. I don't anticipate that being anything that'll hold us up. And we were lucky, there's really not many from an engineering design standpoint for a bridge, there really isn't many environmental impacts that I think are gonna hold us up on this project either.
Okay, does anybody have any questions, Cody? Barbara?
Yeah, Madam Chair, one question. Thanks for coming tonight.
Mhm.
How many property owners are you talking about needing to cooperate?
I think there are 4, are there?
Thank you.
Yeah, I think each corner has a different property owner.
Thanks.
I have 2 questions.
Mhm.
It looks like the pipeline needs to fix their pipeline anyway.
From the perspective of just because of the matting
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
they would have lasted that way for a very long time if we weren't touching our bridge, but they're so close to us that we're gonna disrupt them.
Sure, and then are they gonna ask you maybe move the bridge away? Over, it looks like from the picture, I can't tell, that you could actually move the bridge away from the pipeline.
It's funny you say that because the engineer that's designing this, thought maybe he could shift the bridge and avoid the pipeline. But the truth of it is, even to demolish the bridge that's there today,
Mhm.
we are too close to their pipeline. They would have to relocate.
Yeah, that's,
They're so close in this case that we can't shift it out of their way.
it's probably
Um,
pretty deep down next to the pipeline, the footers, I would think.
The footers, we don't have, because of the age of the bridge, we don't have actual data on how deep they are, but I would say they're probably down, anywhere between 6 and 10 feet.
Yeah.
In the pipeline, I will tell you, I witnessed it. It was exposed in the stream bed.
They're under.
So it's
yeah.
not that
Pipeline
as
is
deep as our
shallower
footer.
than the bridge
Right,
footer, most likely.
right.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions?
No, I don't.
John,
thanks.
do you have any questions? You said this is a project that's funded by PennDOT, so that means that we don't have any financial obligation?
You don't. The only thing I could say is if I've had this happen before, but we certainly don't look for it to happen. But if there's some improvement that you want that isn't in our scope, if we want to partner on it, we'd want to be talking now. I've had townships where our limits of work, they want us to go a little further to fix some problem they have, and then you do have a stake in it. But if you just want us to do our project, you don't have any stake.
Okay, and will you come to us with the final plans and everything like that when you're ready to do the?
Yeah,
project?
typically, we always have a public involvement phase where we come and give you a presentation of exactly what we're going to do. We're not there yet. We just want, because of the pipeline and because of the sensitivity of the area and because of the need for the detour that's
Mhm.
going to come up for the geotech, we wanted to just get here early and let you know what's coming.
Are there any other questions? So seeing that this is not an issue that we have to vote on, then we just want to thank you for your time
Okay.
tonight and look forward to hearing the updates along the way.
Perfect. No, we plan to stay in touch, and you're always, Derek, or anybody's always welcome to call if they're not sure what's going on or they haven't heard from us in a while.
Thank you very much. We
Excellent.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move right along with the rest of our agenda. There are no public hearings this evening, and we'll go to number 8 for the financial report. Dave?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As of February 29th, the net of pass-throughs, the general fund had year-to-date revenues of $1,787,542 and expenses of $2,049,541 for a net result of negative $262,000. As of February 29th, the general fund balance was $5,773,444. Concerning versus the budget, our year-to-date February revenue finished 4% under budget. Alarm fees, summer program fees, offset budget shortfalls in building permit fees, cable franchise fees, real estate transfer tax, and EIT collections. The negative variance to budget is entirely due to monthly budgeting of operating transfers from existing general fund balance to pay for the 2024 WEGO contributions. Basically, what that's saying is I budgeted a monthly amount that to cover the total shortfall we estimated when we created the budget for Thornberry not being a partner in WEGO. There's a monthly amount for that, and that is the total shortfall to budget right now. We don't anticipate paying that until we get closer to the year, probably fourth quarter, and we see actually where we are in relation to the budget and how much we might have to actually transfer from existing balance. Our year-to-date expenses are 0.6% or 13K over budget. That's pretty nice. We're in line 2 months through. Stormwater repairs and materials, as well as AMS software costs that were unbudgeted, and unbudgeted third-party engineering fees drove our 13K versus the budget. Versus our prior year, our revenue is still $111,000 higher than last year. That's primarily summer program signups, timing of insurance claim payments, and building a permit and alarm fees. Expenses are up $210,000, primarily from the new WEGO costs. Happy to answer any questions anybody has on the board or in the room.
Madam Chair, I just have one quick question.
Please.
I saw we had some, I guess it goes towards the bills. So I'll ask it now, though. The ARPA fund, I saw we have about 166,000 or 167,000 in there. How much of
Yes.
that do we still owe to Fly Excavating for the dam?
None of that to Fly. The dam is bond driven.
You're right, I'm sorry. For the bond with the 1.7 million, that's the fund. The 1.7 million, how much of that do we still owe to the excavating people? If you had a guess.
Say 200,
Okay.
but
So
I mean,
after,
they're in line with what we budgeted.
okay.
And we are coming up with preliminary plans. We're going to talk about in a little bit with Milltown.
Sure.
And I can speak to the finances, and I can pull it up then and we can see exactly what it is.
Okay. Barbara, do you have any questions? Peter, do you have anything?
No,
John, no? All right. Then we'll move right along to the treasurer's report. That's you again, Dave.
It is. For the treasurer's report, weeks February 29th, 2024 through March 14th, 2024. EIT collections, transfer tax receipts, LST collections, insurance payment for damaged equipment, interest income, permit fees, and parks and rec registrations drove our fund revenue during this period. The expenses included our monthly WEGO contributions, insurance payments, tree removal and pruning, as well as routine operational expenses. I typically include that, and just so everybody knows, that's usually water, electric, phones, cable, internet, fuel, our regular IT services costs, and vehicle maintenance. The bond fund did incur $156,000 of expense for Milltown Dam construction costs.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the receipts and approve the expenditures as presented in the expenditure register and summarized in the treasurer's report.
Thank you. I have a quick question. To be clear, the SPCA line item on page 3. It is account number 01-410-5400. The SPCA contract. How many animals did that $715 cover?
I believe it was one,
What was it? An elephant?
a dog.
Okay.
There's a 400, with the new contract, there's a $400 fee for a dog. There is an additional fee if there's an activity fee like a bite where the person has to come out, the officer from the SPCA, there's an additional charge, $65, I think. And then there's also, if it's after hours, we're on a holiday or on a weekend, there's an emergency fee.
Okay. Do you know if there was a bite involved in this?
Yes.
There was a
Well,
bite.
it was called, There was an activity fee because it was a call by WeGo. As soon as they call and they get the
Okay.
SPCA involved,
Okay,
it's an activity fee.
so it was an activity fee, but was there a bite involved? Do you know? I'm just curious.
I could look up the actual invoice itself.
I just want to know if
I-
there was a bite involved. I'd like to know if the animal was tested and if the person is okay. You're not gonna have that on the invoice probably.
No, that's not gonna be on the invoice.
But,
I don't know if she printed out all the pages that would go with it. I'll look it up. I'll look it up and get back to you.
no worries, that's fine. I
I
was just curious.
believe there
It
was.
seemed like a lot of money for
Oh,
one
yeah.
animal.
No, but it wouldn't, the bite itself wouldn't be over the activity fee. That
Okay.
would cover it.
Okay,
So it's really the emergency fee after hours plus the $400. It's a dog. And then the activity fee.
okay, that's a lot. Okay, that's a
Mhm.
lot of fees. Okay,
I'd
Thank
like to ask Madam Chair about tree removal. How many trees, how much money? What are we doing lately?
Go, okay?
Week in, some country, driven 3 trees, professionally by Travis, and then we took down another 3 trees under Grove Township.
Okay, is that the activity on trees decreasing?
No,
no.
Still the same?
no, just this last week, we spent between $15,000 and $20,000 and
Okay.
13 to 15,000 in Hunt Country alone.
Last year, at one point I asked, and it was $188,000 outside. Ballpark, what was it at the end of the year, do you know?
I think it was closer to 100. It depends if you're including the sewer fund, because we do a lot that are in the right of way. And if we do them in the sewer right of way, it gets charged to the sewer customers who are ratepayers versus the general fund who are just taxpayers. So I can look that split up for you and get back to you.
I'd be interested.
Me too.
We still have the outstanding question of how we're going to handle trees not on our property, et cetera.
Yeah, we just recently, were in Linden Lane and had, quite a, quite an expensive township expense. A homeowner had an issue with a clean out that wasn't found, had a private contractor come in and look, and they charged her money, and it ended up coming back to Public Works. I believe the person was in contact with board members, et cetera. But once we went out, this is something that probably, if we had to outsource it, would cost $25,000 for one home to
Mhm.
get done, because we had every single member of Public Works there. It was over the weekend. It was all day Monday, all day Tuesday, and multiple machines. We had the trench boxes, and they were standing in poop water, taking care of business.
Because of trees.
Because of a
Yeah,
tree.
But it's also a broader conversation, John, than we were having last year, because last year we focused on the ownership and the right of way and who owns the trees. But, Mark, Dave and I were just talking today. I
Yep.
mean, it's the entire infrastructure along those roads. I mean, these trees are really affecting. So when you're talking about us, Aqua, Pico, Cable. So regardless of who owns them, there's still a huge issue when they're there, because they are crushing infrastructure as they get older and older. And it's not getting any better right now. So it's actually even a more broad issue than we were even discussing in the meetings last year.
I mean, these trees on Lennon are 50 years old, right, Mark?
Mhm.
So you've got fully mature trees that are only going to go downhill from here. We can come up with a plan and bring it to the board about us taking charge of trees and just taking them out preemptively and saving on what we know are going to be infrastructure
Would it be
costs in the
possible,
future.
and no, this is more for Mark than anybody, would it be possible to identify particular trees that are over top of pipes or infrastructure that we could selectively take them out?
Interesting.
I don't
Yeah.
think they planned. I don't think they planned particularly well. It seems like the majority of them, looking at Linden Lane, they're right over top of the sewer and
Alright.
aqua pipes as well.
All right, well, then we're gonna have to come to grips with the issue of whether they belong to the homeowner or to us.
But
So,
I still think it's an issue, even if hypothetically we gave it to the homeowner. because then it's still crushing our infrastructure. So kind of what Dave's point is, do we start looking at these trees as, and I know it's a tough conversation because, you know, there's a lot of people that work very, very hard to try to make this a Tree City USA environmentally sound place to live. But when we're looking at the type of damage this is doing to infrastructure, we have to start having that conversation of, you know, can we get rid of some of these problem trees and maybe plant somewhere more safe? I don't know, but we have to come up with a game plan because it's getting worse.
All right, well, we'll leave that up to you.
And even,
Public
even with
works.
what Derek just said, I mean, just seeing that one spot on Linden Lane, it was, you know, you can see all the trees growing over and they obviously needed to be pruned just to get an emergency vehicle through. You know, that's a big concern with the population demographic we're dealing with. So,
Well, my concern
another
is the
level.
pipes especially. Trees, their roots naturally seek water. And the
yes,
pipes always have some water in them.
correct.
So they're gonna go right into the pipes if they can.
We see it every time we dig it out.
Yeah. All right, well, I'll leave that to you guys,
Yeah,
but
that's something we need a little bit more information on. I think we need to come up with a plan.
When do you think that we should bring it up? Yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I think in order to come up with a good game plan, I don't know if the April 16th, probably May, maybe.
First, maybe the first.
Or maybe the first meeting in May.
I didn't budget it all for this year, so
Yeah.
just to bring that up
I mean,
budget
let's
wise.
to talk about it.
But we need a planned schedule of attack if we are gonna take that tack, at least to quantify it, give you guys a couple options and.
So we can do it before the long range planning in June then?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that we need to.
What kind
Good.
of pipe was breached? Asbestos, okay.
you won't get the
Good question.
asbestos again anyway.
Yeah, but that's interesting too, because depending on who's down there and who's cutting it and what the mask they're wearing, are they properly protected and safe?
That's a
Mhm.
big issue. It's a big problem. We need to keep our guys safe, so hopefully they were well protected.
Okay.
Does anybody have any other questions regarding the bills? Anybody here in the room or in the Zoom platform? I don't see any hands raised. So who wants to pay the bills? Vote aye. Aye. Is that five ayes?
5 ayes.
Okay. No problem.
Yeah.
I would like to come back to B. Could we actually look at, under new business, item letter D? The removal of the Conservancy Board member,
Sure.
get some of these little things knocked out real quick.
Sure. So we had so board member Scott Sanders has been on the board quite a while, right, Eric? You know, so he's been difficult to get in touch with the last couple of years. Nobody's had a direct conversation with him. I don't think he's been to a meeting at least in the last couple of years. September 21. And we, as a township, just thought it was, and the Conservancy Board made a motion and thought it was time to move on. Scott was a valuable member when he was here. He's knowledgeable. He does that for a living as far as working with trees. He's a trained arborist. So I think the Conservancy Board wanted to really thank Scott for his time on the Conservancy Board, but it is time to kind of cut loose and try to find a new member at this point that is going to be a little bit more active.
Mhm.
So that was really what was behind this.
Madam Chair, just one quick thing is, as you know, since you're the liaison last year, the Conservancy Board is one of our most active. On Saturday morning, we were out cleaning bluebird boxes at the park. You know, we have Arbor Day, we have Keep East Scotia Beautiful Day. So each person that does not show up and part of our board is one more hole that we have to dig for a tree or so forth. So
Yes, it is.
our Conservancy Board is fantastic, and we're all in support. We thank Scott for his service, but it's time to fill that with someone who can actually help us. So,
Okay,
We need a motion?
yeah, Madam Chair, I move that we remove Scott Sanders as a member of the East Goshen Conservancy Board.
thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. And if there are no questions on the board, anybody in the room or on the Zoom platform, then with our thanks for all of Scott's years of service, we'll go ahead and make a vote. Those in
Aye.
favor of removing him from that conservancy?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Aye as well. So 5. Okay. Let's go to the ESAC letter to businesses.
So thank you, Madam Chair. talking with the chair of ESAC this week, Christie. She did forward me this letter that ESAC was hoping to send out to businesses regarding the cooperation of the resolution that was passed late last year regarding plastic bags. So
Okay.
the letter is attached and it is for your consideration.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I move we allow the township manager to sign and send out the letter drafted by the Ocean Environmental and Sustainability Advisory Council, and if there's a second, I would speak.
Thank you.
I will second that.
Great. Go ahead.
Just make a comment that advisory, ESAC voted 6-1 to approve this letter, had good response from the members of the team. It's a letter that is in coordination with the idea of the resolution, which is to educate, offer, and cooperate, giving businesses flexibility. So because of those things, I think that this is a good letter to educate businesses about the resolution and to provide support and education.
Thank you. The only question I had is the email address correct, Christie? It's listed as, we invite you to contact us at sac@eastgoshen.org.
I think that
It
is,
doesn't say ESAC. I just want to make sure that it's correct before it goes out.
yeah, the email was
It's
never
correct.
changed.
That's
Yeah.
fine. I just wanted to make sure before, because I don't want it to go out with the typo.
No, it is correct. I talked with Help Now today.
Perfect. I just didn't want it to go out with an error. That's all. Okay, are there any questions on the board?
Nope.
Any questions in the room or in the Zoom room? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Those in favor of the letter?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. I think that we have one big issue. I think that Mark is gonna be, help us with?
I'll start out talking here, Madam Chair, but yeah,
Thank you.
I do have Mark here. Dave Ware has been in on this conversation. And we also have Eric Neese here from Gannett Fleming, who is an integral part of the project as well. I brought this up at the last meeting. I apologize. I don't know what's going on with the TV here. It's a little small up there. It shouldn't affect the people at home, but for some reason it's coming up small on the TV and I don't want to mess with it further and cancel everything out. So I'm just going to leave it as is.
Yeah.
So we've had a few conversations in the last couple of weeks about this. As you know, Milltown Dam project is getting completed right now, just the dam portion of it. I do have pictures in a second showing the progress on that, and we are making great progress. And I do have to give Mark credit because shown a lot of initiative here where he was thinking outside the box, brought this to Dave and I, and we really appreciate it because, you know, we kept talking since we approved that in September, I think reluctantly because of how expensive it was, you know, what can we do for the enhancements for the residents down there? Just something that is going to be as low cost as possible, but can show progress beyond just doing the dam lowering. And in looking at the plan that was already approved, and that's an important point, this is approved by the Army Corps, DEP. This is what you're looking at now is a portion of that, the enhancements that were so expensive that we couldn't do them in September. So what we're looking at here is, you know, we have the dirt, earth moving right down there already. It's happening. It's in motion. And we're looking at using that and probably more come the next few weeks as it comes in. And this is another kind of time sensitive thing that we're looking at is making sure that while it's mobilized down there, we can kind of go in on the back end of this project and continue it. So we don't miss a beat here. But what you're looking at is on the highlighted area right here. And I could put this all online. It was not in the packet for a reason. I just wanted to have the conversation while we presented it, but we can put this online afterwards. And this is a highlighted, this is basically the trail that is on Reservoir Road. So the very end of it on the right side is where the dam breach is happening. It's not in the picture. And if you just go straight down, you're looking at a parking lot that we can put probably,
There's 20 spots, but.
yeah, let me see here. This is the parking lot that would be there in conjunction with the trail. And let me go back up. Just want to show the parking lot really quickly. And then it loops back around, as you can see, as it approaches Strasburg. There's a little offshoot trail that goes down to the street. And then it comes back around. So essentially what we're talking about here, in order to keep this project going and do some enhancements for the residents that we kept discussing, is this trail that on the side of Reservoir that loops around, and then the parking lot, and then also some plantings, wildflowers that really, I think, speak to the beautification of the area, because I think a lot of the residential feedback and just in general is how kind of ugly it has gotten because of the breach or the lowering and getting rid of the lake that was there, for lack of a better term. So those, I think, are the three main things that, we're gonna try to cover here if we put this plan in motion. And I could show you some numbers as well that we were looking at. Dave did a good job of getting those together in conjunction with Mark. But really what this comes down to is we just kind of want to keep the ball rolling. We want to take advantage of what's going on down there in a low cost way in-house. So we're not talking about going out to bid. We're talking about doing it in-house as we can do it and get something started. This doesn't negate anything that can possibly happen in the future, but we feel it's a good start. And as you'll see in a second, it's a low cost start. And we can see how it evolves after we get it done and see if anything else in the future lends itself to something else. But this is really what we wanted to come with. It's a little, again, time sensitive because they're going to be wrapping up that project, fairly shortly. And we just want to be able to take advantage of what they have going down there. And as we can discuss this, I can, show some pictures of the current work itself. But this is up for discussion, but we just think it's a good, solid plan and a step forward.
I know that Cody is gonna mention a visit that we had. So Cody, do you wanna go ahead and talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, first off, Mark, thanks for all your work
Yeah,
on this.
thank you.
It's, it's very nice to see some work finally being done. I've only lived there a couple years, but I know I have other neighbors that have lived there much longer than I have. So I know they're appreciative of your work. I'm obviously very supportive of this. The other morning, Mark had some residents, myself and Michelle were down there to talk about the progress that's being made and the potential, so the potential enhancements. One thing that I did want to harp on that Derek mentioned is about the permit process. Since we have the permit, we might as well do it now because if we delay, we may have to go out and get another permit for that.
That's a very good point. And that's another reason to kind of keep it going is we have the open permit right now. So thank you.
And I don't want Michelle on the phone DEP for anymore. But I'm very obviously supportive of this. I think it's going to be a great enhancement. One thing that Mark and I did discuss is once you get down to Strasburg, there right across the street, there is that open field that's township property. That's already has a light there. So if we wanted to do a crosswalk right there, we could, and then it just connects it to another open piece of land. Then you could cross the street and you go down this, go behind with the stream and you could go up to Baldwin. So I think there's a lot of connectability there for very low cost.
So the picture, sorry to interrupt, Craig, but I just want to make sure I mentioned the picture there right now. Again, we could put these up on the website. So I apologize for how small it is right now, but this is looking towards what would be, the trail, this from where they're breaching it or lowering it, I'm sorry, and going towards, that parking lot that was highlighting yellow and towards Strasburg where it would loop around, sort of hugging the side of Reservoir. And again, the plantings I think are going to be a big part of it with enhancing the beauty of the place. But I think that's an important picture to visualize exactly where we're talking about and how we're talking about doing it.
I just have one more comment, Madam Chair. I know you and I discussed this the other day. I think there's a proposal for 20 spots. I don't think we need 20 spots down there. We considered 12. I still think 12 is somewhat generous considering the Hershey's Mill Dam has 2. I'm sure that if we lowered that, maybe to 8 to 10, I don't want to be, super specific on that, but I would like us to limit to at least 12. I do think 20 is excessive, so.
One of the
quiet.
reasons, oh, go ahead. Oh, one of the reasons I wanted to lower the number of parking spots also because of impervious surface and to keep this natural area more natural-like and more nature-like. There was a little bit of discussion. Some of the residents expressed a desire to have boulders that could allow people to cross from one part of from basically from a trail area to explore a center island that's going to be out there in the middle and not necessarily put a trail in that center island, just allow people to cross over and explore the land itself. So Hey, Mark, do you think you can come up because we do want to ask you a few questions? I'm sorry, because I want to make sure that we capture you for posterity.
The worst part of Mark's job right here is getting on the
I
microphone.
know he hates that. I'm so
He does not
sorry.
like it.
I'm sorry.
Tell a joke first.
The game, starting up, the game plan would be to continue where flyaway construction has started, dumping the excess dirt. And they're all the way up to where the parking lot would be. As discussed, we'd shorten it up from 20 to 12 parking stalls. 2 of them would be handicapped, so that gives you 8 regular parking spots. The biggest thing is dirt's free and I can get dirt right now. So we would take the guardrail, would come out, and we would have, we'll monitor who's coming in, no blacktop, no concrete, just clean fill. And work our way from where they are now up towards Stroudsburg Road. And the quicker we get the dirt, the more we can move forward.
Question, what if we want more parking places? Do we,
Then you can add it.
can we add it? Is there room and
Oh,
place
yeah,
to do
yeah,
that?
yeah, yep.
Because I think 12 is a low number. I was hoping for more than that.
I mean, but yes, you can add it on.
Yeah, this is all preliminary and he's not even including paving at this point. This is just millings and setting the foundation down, so it's malleable at this point.
If we can get the dirt down, then once we start doing millings for paving, we'll just back the trucks right in and lay millings out. Same way we built the East Goshen Trail.
It's not a far trip from your.
No, it's not. We're actually going, it's
The
not. gonna be a
yard right up to the,
Yeah.
yes, that's good.
And it's a nice time-wise. Mark jumped on it really quickly because there's an aqua project going on. We're gonna get the dirt for free. Most people paying hand over fist for dirt, quality dirt that's not tainted. That's hard to get. Being free is amazing. We could probably even charge people for dirt, honestly, but just to get it for free is wonderful. And then as they push that out, we've got those paving projects coming up this summer. There's our extra millings as well. Like we're reusing all of these products together for free.
Yep, good.
A couple things that came out of the discussion with the residents were concern of speeders along that, or along Reservoir Road. People do take that road very, very fast. So I would be amenable to considering a lower speed limit along this section of road so that we can, because it is a township road. So I would want to consider, I would like the board to consider lowering the speed limit because of the safety factor.
What
There are
is it
gonna
right
be
now?
35.
35.
And they don't go 35. They don't, yeah, we go is over there a lot. They do patrol that area. The other concern was trash, and Mark has already, he's already arranged for trash to be picked up along Reservoir Road there with the first contractor pickup. So that was another consideration. And we talked about lighting, having very low lighting because of we don't want a whole lot of light noise in that area. They've never had it, so we don't want it. So Mark has some special lights that he'd like to consider. And then you talked about doing a speed study, I think, just.
Yeah,
to-
we'll put the stealth signs up when we're done on these other 2 projects to see what the speeds are.
And I'm trying to think if there was anything else that came of that. Can you maybe put up some bad houses at some point? Like John
And then-
suggested.
On the other side, the Waterview side, that only calls for meadow mix and, wetland plantings and so forth. And, we could scatter wildflowers over there and just get it to pop. So those people aren't looking at dreariness. There's no trail over there. There was never a trail over there.
What is the time limit on the permit currently?
I believe it's the end of 2025, but you know what? We do have Eric Neese is in the house, so
We can renew it.
I wanna ask him. Eric, I don't know if you know the specific date of that, but is that correct or am I off base there?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right on the money. December 31st, 2025 is the date that the permit expires.
So I'm right. Can you
Yep.
tell my wife that, Eric?
Uh,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And while we have Eric on, Mike, what is the acreage allotment. So if we chose, if we did as many improvements as we can between now and December 31st of 2025, moving forward after that, if we were to do other improvements as we have money to do improvements there, is there an acreage maximum that we're allowed to improve at any one time? Or is there a monetary cap that we would have to spend so that we wouldn't have to get another permit?
I think you could request a permit extension from the Corps of Engineers.
Okay,
I don't know how long that extension would be, but you could get some extra time by doing that.
okay,
I think at some point, once the township really kind of hones in on what this final reservoir will look like, we will need to go back and request a permit modification from the Corps.
Okay.
Even if it's just that we're not doing as much, we're not doing what they permitted. So we'll need to get a permit amendment for that. So that does give us the opportunity, if there's something different that we want to do that's not shown on the plans right now, we can ask for approval of that when we put in that amendment.
okay, thank you very much, Eric. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Does anybody else have any other questions for Eric? Do you want to?
Not for Eric,
Yeah,
Madam
no,
Chair,
that's
just
right.
one,
No,
one
that's
quick
right.
thing.
Yeah.
We got an email today for someone off Lockwood about the mosquitoes in the standing water. Do you mind just, obviously there's gonna be water and there's gonna be mosquitoes there. It's that's just the way it is.
Well,
But do you mind giving a little bit of background or explanation why you think it may not be as bad in the future?
and I was talking, like Eric and I were talking earlier today, the stream now is has cut its path in. So your water is gonna stay there unless you get a flood or whatever. You put some bat boxes in there and, the additional planting of the wildflowers, I mean, it will help fill that dead spot that's in there now. And yeah, you're gonna have some standing water when you get a rain, but it's actually gonna start tightening up.
But it'll dry out over.
Yeah, it's
time.
gonna dry out.
It took, I mean, it was underwater for years. It's gonna take some time to dry out, but eventually it will dry out.
Yeah.
Okay,
So this is, just to talk numbers a little bit, Madam Chair, we can go back to any other questions not related to this, but appreciate Dave putting this together. This is sort of what we're looking at from a, budgetary standpoint for this project. And,
I think we're good, Mark.
yeah, we're good. You can go.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. And as you can see, again, $34,032.60. That's kind of our preliminary budget right now, what we're looking at. So not, you looked at some of the numbers we were looking at in September for the overall project enhancement. I think it's something we're doing in-house and we can do it pretty cost effective. And just looking at where we would pull from as far as, the funding. We're looking at, so that highlighted yellow, that's 124,000. That's kind of what we're looking at right now. And Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what we think we are under budget for the work right now with Flyaway. So really, when you look at the overall picture, the 34 grand, we're actually still ahead of it. But Dave, I don't know if you want to elaborate a little bit more on the specifics of the funding.
Just to give a little, thanks, Derek, just to give a little summary, to kind of simplify it. So we're basically looking at, we'll probably be $125,000 under the budget that we had with Flyaway, where we were looking at 1.5 million. We think we're going to be 125,000 under that. After that is spent, we're probably going to have $768,000 without additional interest on our bond money that's remaining. We've done every other project with the bond money we took out in 2017, except this project. And we didn't have nearly enough to go, even with the additional grants, to do the complete redo that was in the original plan. But even just throwing this additional $35,000 at it to get this started, we still have $734,000 in bond money, which we could allocate directly to this. And it should be allocated to this. So that's $730,000 that we can do to do additional things or something else.
Okay, well, and we don't have to make that decision tonight.
Correct.
It's just a function of knowing how much we have. Would you be able to please kindly forward that page in particular and the other itemized breakdown you have?
I'll forward everything to the board. We'll probably put it
Sure.
online.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't need the pictures. I just would like to have the financial breakdown.
I do want to put the highlighted thing up as well, that the
Yeah,
engineering
absolutely.
plan.
Absolutely.
I mean, the great thing is
Mhm.
that this, talking with Jason and Mark and the original plans going back, even, different committee members that were on committees at the time, just in my travels, this was always supposed to be a passive park. That's pretty important to realize because passive park doesn't have to have a lot of things. It's you go walking, you take your dog for a walk, you see flowers, there's some trees, nice little trails. That's about it. You don't need something big and crazy. And this is a really good start, in my opinion.
And just for communication purposes, I just want to let everybody know, because back when we were having that conversation last year about whether we were going to go forward or not with the enhancements, I did have a Excel sheet about 100 homes that I was communicating with via letter down there. So if the board's okay with this plan, at some point in the next couple of weeks, I'd like to get a letter out to those people as well, let them know the update. So
Can you tell us what will happen to the balance of the bond money, Dave, if we don't use it on this project?
We'll have to figure out something to use it for. I'll have to talk to the auditors and see the best way that we would allocate that out.
I thought that it had to be utilized on the projects that were enumerated back in 2017 when the bond was taken
That,
out.
that is the priority, but I think there are a variety of circumstances, obviously,
Great.
when things come under budget, like the Hershey Mill Estates, like Paley Pike was over. I mean, we've got, the park came under because we got additional funding. When those kind of things happen, there's got to be plan Bs. So I'll find out.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
That's all I have.
I would like, I don't know if this is amenable right now. I'd like to maybe make a motion for us to, if we have the dirt, we have the permit. If I don't know what the proper motion would be rather.
Do we need to
I-
actually make a motion to?
probably not,
make
because
a
it's not a
motion?
financial, I would prefer you make a motion, because, we're trying to move forward with this work. I mean, financially, it's not going to have a financial impact with this small portion of it, but I would rather have a motion on the table. I don't know how
Okay.
you feel, Mark, but that's kind of how I
Makes it
feel.
more clear.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's nice bond wise to reiterate that we are spending it towards those proceeds.
okay.
John, you have a
We
question?
do have a question on.
No, I just want to hear the motion, that's all.
We have a question on Zoom.
Okay,
So. Yes. Yep. So whoever has a question on Zoom, I'm asking you to unmute and you can go ahead.
Hey, this is Vincent McGinnis Jr. I think you guys killed my dad by destroying that dam. And at the time, we were promised a pond, a walkway, and from what I saw, we get a parking lot and flowers. This doesn't make sense to me. I get that you're gonna do whatever you want to, but I just wanted to make that opinion known. I don't understand this, and I'd like to know, what is this going to be, this barren hell space that I see back there, or is something else going to happen? Is it supposed to just kind of die? Thanks. I'll mute myself and I'm done for the night.
Vincent, first of all, thanks for your interest. I would ask you, before you judged what it looks like now, to go over to the breach that we did at the Hershey Mill Dam and look at the landscape there before you decide that this is going to be awful, because I think that's a very attractive area. It will be a passive park. It's not going to be, we're not going to put playgrounds in there or anything, but it will still be very nice.
I guess I just want to speak to about the history of it, because I know there was something mentioned about what was promised, and understood that was a project that was talked about for almost a decade here, and there was a master plan and the enhancements. The board voted in September, I think, to do away with that due to the astronomical cost that they did bid it out per that plan, and it came in, I forget, I think it was around $9 million. And at the time, the board decided to do the dam work itself and forego the other enhancements. So this is a attempt to sort of try to go in the right direction of that, but that's the timeline of when that happened. Just to clarify.
Just to be clear, I believe the government mandated the dams be breached, not East Goshen Township.
That's correct.
We're just following orders.
If we did not,
Correct.
if we did not go up to the safety standards that they set, which would have been astronomically expensive at the time, yes.
Right. So it was not a choice. And unfortunately, past boards made financial decisions and unfortunately, they couldn't have known how long it was going to take to get permits to do this project. They couldn't have known what the inflation rates were going to look like. And so we just don't have money in the coffers to do this whole project as it was originally planned. So we're trying to do the best we can with what we have. And we're not, our intention is to make it look beautiful and to make it be a passive park so that people do have a safe place to walk and to enjoy the scenery in our township.
So we have the same gentleman has another question, then we have another hand up as well. And I'll just say what it's going to look like. I mean, I think the plannings that Mark talked about and we all talked about with the wildflowers is an attempt, you know, in the right direction to try to beautify the area as much as we possibly can. The second, see how it grows in, see if it takes.
And it's also not
Well,
the end.
and Derek, just to chime in, so the original budget that I found from my predecessor was basically 4.8 million for this entire project. The cheapest one that we just got a cost estimate for on a bid was 7.1 million.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And by way of contrast, 7.1 million, our yearly township budget is about 12 million.
Correct.
So, okay, so I will ask, okay. So you can speak at this time.
Vincent, did you have another question for us? Okay, we're gonna go to the next person then.
I'm asking. S. Lingle.
Did somebody else have a question?
S. Lingle is, I asked to unmute.
Okay. Hi there, can you hear us? Because we can't hear you.
Okay. I'll mute and go to Jim Seeley.
Okay, hi, Jim Seeley, is that who's on?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hi, yep, can hear you now.
Yeah, I just was listening to the meeting. Been a while since I participated in your discussions. I think I was there about a year ago. The only comment that I heard tonight that I'd like to address would be, you had questioned if there's excess funds in the bond, would they be used for this project? And I would highly prefer that if the funds were allocated for this project, that they remain in this project as whatever contingency it goes up to. I mean, I know you still want a passive park, and I know that Mark and his crew is going to do a good job, but it'd be nice knowing you have contingencies for a better job rather than having the funds go elsewhere.
Thank you for your comments regarding your opinion on that matter. We appreciate it and it will be taken into consideration.
Yeah, thanks, Jim, and I'll get clarification. I believe we do have these obligated for this project, so I'll follow with our auditors to make sure that that is still the case.
Okay, appreciate that.
All right, we'll go back around and try to get them unmuted again.
Are you trying to unmute?
I'm trying, McGinnis.
Is the last name McGinnis?
Yes, asking to unmute.
Mr. Ms. McGinnis, you can go ahead and unmute.
I think that was the gentleman. Vincent.
Oh, Vincent, okay.
That's all I wanted to say. I'm very disappointed. I think we were, promised a bunch of stuff that nobody planned on giving us, and now we're seeing the end result of that, and that's not, I'm not surprised. So it's all right.
Well, I do hope that this is not the end. It's ugly right now because it's all muddy, and we are hoping to make it a beautiful and passive park, like I said. So I hope that um, you'll be able to see the results of that later this summer. Is there anybody else?
Madam Chair, I just want to address that, he's disappointed in the promises. I just want clarification that none of the board members here were the ones who promised it as a previous board. So.
That's correct.
Okay, all right, great. I'm going to move out and thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay, well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion for,
No, there's a comment.
Another comment here.
I'm sorry.
So come on
No,
up.
in the room.
Oh, I didn't see Dave Ravis' hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, you can make the motion while Dave's on his way up.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make the motion that Mark and Public Works start moving forward on this proposed path with whatever the budget is. I think was it 30? With the within a budget of 34,000. And then once that's concluded, I guess you'll come back to us with costs for paving once we have the summer paving budget. So that's the motion I'd like to make.
I'll second the motion.
Great. Please.
I'm David Kluznik. I live on Park Avenue.
Thank you.
I've lived there since 1998.
Mhm.
So we've seen the reservoir come and go. We've seen it beautiful. We've seen it ugly. It's pretty ugly now, but we're hoping that it will be better. I guess a couple of the things were when this whole thing started, the township was asked, do you want to breach the dam or do you want to renovate it? And I believe the decision then by the township as a whole was that they wanted to breach the dam and go forward with that. But there was the decision, I know Pete, you said something about that but there was the decision that we didn't have to do what the state said. We could, as you said, I believe that we could leave the dam if we made improvements to it. So.
But the improvements were going to be very costly.
Exactly. So there was an option at the beginning, and the township as a whole voted to do where we're at now.
Right.
None of us could have expected the pandemic. And I think that we can all honestly say that that's really what has put us in the predicament that we're in now. We're going to blame it on the pandemic. Nobody could do anything. Inflation came along. And you guys had all your permits expired. You had to reapply for them. So I don't. Did the previous board have grandiose plans? Sure, maybe. Will ours look as good as Hershey's Mill? Probably not. Probably not. Well, probably not I am too, don't get me wrong, as it stands now. But I know that when we were out with Mark, I was one of the people that was meeting with Mark and Cody and Michelle. We talked about doing other things, about putting a bridge on the south side of Strasburg Road, which would eat into that. I mean, that wouldn't be a cheap thing. That would certainly be an expense. And I think over at Hershey's Mill, they have those nice steel grating pathways. That might be something to look at in terms of crossing the creek there. Cody and I talked about one of the very simple, easy ways, and I think Mark agreed with this, to cross the creek, to make creek crossings, were to rearrange Mother Nature's boulders down below the dam. Instead of having like a grandiose bridge, you don't need that. You need simple boulders. The water can flow over it. There's no impediments there. So that's my thought, so if there's a concern about, as much as I hate to say, well, we have $700,000, let's find a way to spend it. Why don't we say we have $7,000, let's utilize it in a good way to improve it. I know, Mark, you said about removing the guardrails. I think that's a great idea because they do look terrible. Would it be wise to maybe look at putting boulders there instead?
I was just going to say the same.
Because that's a windy road, and I know people enjoy riding it. And I can see that Wego's going to be out there like pulling them out of the mud if there's not some other way to impede their progress into the grass. So yeah, and I was talking to my son today about the parking spaces. John, you said you wanted to have a lot more parking spaces, and we looked at it and we said, well, there's really not that much of a need, but we're looking for the future. hopefully there will be a need. Do we need to have 20 right now? I don't think so. I think and we talked about this too, that we can expand that as the time goes on. So let's do what we need to do right now. And once we make this a beautiful place,
See how many more spots we need.
and I come to you being like, what did you guys do? There's like so many people down there now. It's
Well, and that's one of the concerns I have. I think the solicitor will back me up here, Mark. Because we get money from the county, we have an obligation to open all of our parks to anyone, not just East Goshen people, but to anyone who wants to come. So the nicer we make it, you're right, the more parking spaces we'll need.
And there are a lot of people who in the past, they'd go fishing there. We'd be amazed. You'd see people by the dam, fishing. We saw people swimming at the dam. Well, I mean, my wife talked about the dam, she remembers the last time it was drained. They pulled a car out of it.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So it certainly is, I think for those groups, the group of people that live around there, it certainly is a source of pride. It was back in the 2000 teens. Right now, not so much, but hopefully it will get better.
Thank you.
But that's all.
Thank you.
Actually,
Thanks for coming.
Madam Chair, I do have a point or a question, clarification on the parking spaces. Are we kind of declaring right now what we want? Or Mark, do we have time if we come back at the April 16th meeting to get a little bit clearer picture if there's 12 or in that general area? Yeah.
We can see what it looks
Okay.
like, maybe.
Okay. So we might bring at least that portion up again at
Okay.
the future meeting, just to hash that out a little bit more.
Okay.
But
I have a question for you, Derek.
no, I know, I'm just trying to get it
Derek.
better again. Yeah.
Why don't we have a full screen for that?
I'm trying to figure that out right now. I have no idea.
All right.
I've been trying to figure that out for the last half hour.
All
It's
right.
nothing's going right
I
tonight.
can't, with my old eyes, I can't
I
read it.
know. All right, so we have a motion on the table. We have a second. We've had some discussion. Are there any other board members who have questions? I'm going to call the question then. Those in favor of spending money on the dam? Milltown Dam. Aye. Thank you. Everybody is in agreement. So thank you for that. And we'll start that process. Moving on to letter E, discussion and possible cancellation of the April 2nd meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually, in looking at the schedule and looking at the agenda coming up, there's not too much. We have some things coming up from a land development perspective, conditional use, I think, on April 16th. There's not much on April 2nd. Furthermore, I'm actually going to be out of town April 2nd. Dave can handle it if you guys want, but I thought we'd have this discussion because, again, there's not anything pressing. It would be probably a rather short meeting anyway. So we don't need a motion, but I'm just wanted to see if you guys are okay with getting rid of the April 2nd meeting. And then we'll have a more robust meeting on April 16th.
Uh-huh. Cody, what do you want to say?
I believe actually, and the Phillies play that night at 6:40, so yes, my recommendation is that we cancel, so.
So,
Question answered.
I'm just being honest with you.
So I'm in favor of getting rid of that meeting. Barbara, do you have an objection to that? Cody, you're in favor?
Absolutely.
Peter?
I'm in favor.
And John is also in favor?
Sure.
All right, so even though you didn't need a motion or a vote, you've
Yep.
got our opinion on that.
Although I just wanted to go back real quick to Milltown because I saw somebody who was having trouble talking, did write something.
Oh, okay.
And he said, he asked, the current path of the stream looks like it goes exactly where the proposed parking lot would be. Does the stream need to be rerouted? Seth Lingle, 30 Lockwood. I don't think it, I mean, it might look like that from the road, but I don't think that is an issue. Is it, Mark? I don't think it is. I mean, it's all very tight, so I get why he would think that, but.
You might not have heard Mark.
Yeah, but the answer is no. Thank you.
Okay, great. Standing issues, well, we've discussed Milltown Dam pretty thoroughly. The projected ending date for the contractor is mid-April, is it? Potentially?
Probably end of
End of
April.
April?
Yeah.
Okay,
And then Bow Tree, I think we're pretty much, I wouldn't say in a holding pattern, it's done. It's just a matter of the restoration is gonna take some time there. So, yeah.
I think you're still in the dewatering process with those bags, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yep, okay.
We just paid a bunch of bills. Hopefully the next meeting, I'll have an update on original budget projection and where we sit right now.
Great. Board members, are there any other matters that we need to be aware of?
Cody?
Cody, do you have any other matters? Is there any public comment in the room or in the Zoom room? Are there any liaison reports for this month or no? Are there any correspondence or reports of interest? We could make some up.
Thank you, Dave. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second the motion.
Those in favor? Aye. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.